Hey, RezaieStrong followers, Salim Rezaie here. So I realized that over the last few months, I've spent quite a bit of time talking about mental growth and physical growth, but I've not really spent a lot of time on emotional growth. And I had to really kind of reflect on that and think about it. And somewhere along the way, I came across this thing called the emotion wheel. That's really got me thinking a lot about emotional growth. And so I thought I would start with this video, and I'll have a couple more videos coming out soon that also talk a little bit more about emotional growth. So I think the reason I've stayed away from emotional growth is that I felt like, and still do sometimes, like a kindergartner that has this basic vocabulary or basic crayon box with just primary colors, right? Blue, yellow, and red. But the reality is that emotions are really complex, and the crayon box is much more than just primary colors. There's secondary colors, there's tertiary colors, quaternary colors, and the list goes on and on. And what I realized is I just simply didn't have the vocabulary to be able to express the things that I wanted to express. So to get nuance from complex feelings and emotions requires really two things. The first part, which I feel pretty good about, is awareness. The second part, which is the part that I was lacking in and still constantly working on, is interpretation and the context that comes with those feelings and emotions. So this is the emotion wheel, or one version of it. There's lots of versions out there. There's feelings wheels, there's emotions wheels. If you just Google it, you'll find a whole bunch of stuff. But at its core, in the middle, you'll see basically core emotions, which are kind of like the primary colors in the kindergartner's crayon box. And this is one that I pulled from online. And it talks about surprise, bad, fearful, angry, disgusted, sad, happy. And as you start going out into the secondary and tertiary ring, you get variance or you get nuance of those core emotions. And essentially, it takes your common or basic core emotions and it pushes you to consider more granular versions to figure out why you're feeling the way you're feeling at your core. So, for example, you have knee pain. Well, a kindergartner would say it hurts, ouch. But we know that pain can be described in much more kind of descriptive ways. Is it burning? Is it dull? Is it sharp? What about timing? Is it constant? Is it transient, only with activity when you're walking? There's a lot of nuance to describing pain. Well, emotion is no different. And so I thought I would share a personal story. So I worked in both the emergency department and the ICU during the start of the COVID pandemic. And after doing it for 2 years, I kind of started to notice that I was feeling really sad. I was feeling blue and I didn't feel good. And thinking about that feeling of sadness, I realized that I didn't have a way to express what it was that was at the core of this. I could just say that this is the way I felt. And so I started going to therapy. And my therapist was the one that kind of suggested using an emotion wheel to kind of help elucidate a little bit more why I was feeling that way. And so when I went to the second ring of sadness, what I really boiled it down to was I was, one, feeling lonely, and two, I was feeling depressed. And when I took that out even further, the reason I was feeling lonely was because I was feeling isolated. And the reason I was feeling depressed is I was feeling kind of empty. And so why was I feeling those things? So lonely and isolated because I was fearful of bringing what I was working with at the hospital to family and friends. I didn't want to get people sick. I didn't want to kill somebody because of what I did for a living. And that caused me to be isolated and living at home by myself with almost no human contact. The depressed and empty is essentially because everything was shut down. There was nowhere we could go. I had to fill my time, and I filled my time with more work. So it was basically this constant rut of work, sleep, repeat. And I let hobbies go away. I had really no activities outside of work. And so it really kind of got me thinking as I took time away from work on how to fix these things. And so the emotion wheel gave me an expanded vocabulary, gave me that kind of nuance, that context, and that granular detail to kind of work through that a little bit more. And so the ultimate answer was I needed to decrease my work hours and not work 200 plus hours a month, which I finally did, and start prioritizing things like spending more time with family and friends. And I've actually made that a priority for myself and not letting work get in the way of that. As far as feeling depressed and empty, I needed to get outdoors more. I needed to pick up hobbies, things like woodworking, which I've started doing for the last couple of years, reading for leisure, going for trail hikes. I got a dog that has been super awesome so that I always have somebody who's super happy to see me. And so these are just ways that I was able to use that emotion wheel. So the emotional wheel helped me become more granular with my emotions, expand my vocabulary, give me context during a hard time. And I thought for many people who might be out there that are having a hard time explaining or describing what it is that they're feeling, this might be able to help you too. So there you go. The emotion wheel. I hope you guys found this helpful and valuable. Please let me know your thoughts, comments, and questions. And until next time.